This is the disclaimer for Wildlife Control Consultant and Pest Geek Podcast with Living the Wildlife Podcast. Always follow national, state, provincial, and local laws when using pesticides and or other control methods to manage pests. Wildlife Control Consultant, LLC, Pest Geek Podcast, Living the Wildlife Podcast, Stephen M. Van Tassel, or their or his affiliates are not responsible for followers' use of the information provided here. Hi, Stephen Van Tassel here, Wildlife Control Consultant. In a previous video, I talked about having a strip installed on my garage doors from Xcluder, and the problem that we had is that they were bulging out and it was causing a massive gap located over here. And we've now, if you compare the earlier video with what you see now, you can see that there's been a substantial reduction in that gap. And it's because one of the commenters talked about putting a screw in the bottom of the stripping. And so I finally got a chance to try it out, and lo and behold, it worked. Now there's still a little bit of a gap, as you can see. I get my finger in there, but part of that's because I get my finger in there because this has been kind of bowed out over time because it went through the whole winter. So I'm not blaming this now, but if I could have changed this sooner, this gap wouldn't have occurred. But I think over time this will begin to tighten up a little bit more. But I wanted to show you what we did. We put a screw. I used a screw right up here. Let me get a pointer. I used a self-tapping screw, and so it's a little hard to do, and you want to probably use a washer, and you kind of have to gauge it, sort of move the rubber in to where you want it, and then sort of seal it there. That way it's not curving up and creating a big gap. So it worked, and now we're going to close the garage door and show you how much darker it is so we have a comparison. And if you can look over here, you can see how much less light is coming in now than if you saw before. So it's been a substantial improvement. So I wanted to give a shout out to the individual for that particular tip on making a little modification to that little weather stripping in the bottom of our garage door, because otherwise I was quite disappointed with it. So make sure you're ready if you find it sort of curving up, so you have your flat portion here. Sometimes if there's too much rubber, it'll curve up and create a gap between the door jamb. And so you basically just put a screw in the rubber to keep it from curling up for you. And it worked like a charm, and I'm not very handy. So kudos to that particular person who gave me that suggestion. Check it out for yourself.